So Loki's out. Loki is the third installment in the Marvel TV series, starting off with WandaVision, Falcon, and then Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and finally Loki. Now, these TV shows haven't been perfect, but they also haven't been too terrible either. They've not really established themselves as great TV shows and just kind of like blend in there with TV shows. You know what I mean? These TV shows are alright, they're not perfect, but they're not great. But I'm not talking about the other two today, we're talking about Loki. So, Loki takes place immediately after Avengers Endgame, but this Loki that's in this TV series is the Loki from 2010's Avengers. Now, this version of Loki is kind of evil, but he's not really evil. He hasn't really had his character development that he had through Ragnarok and the other Thor movies. So this TV series is kind of like has to speed run him through it a little bit. He's got to kind of develop as the TV series goes on. And with only 6 episodes to do this with, it makes the show a little bit cramped, but also the show kind of drags at times. Now, the pacing of the show is really off. This show, you'll find yourself sitting there thinking to yourself, these are really boring conversations. And the action is very few and far between in this series, which is probably my biggest complaint. This show doesn't have a lot of action, but I mean, really, what can you expect? It's Loki. He doesn't really do much. He's just kind of mischievous and he just kind of does stuff. So, one thing that I didn't really like about this series was the fact that Loki does not use magic enough. Loki is literally a god, and his one thing is that he has magic, and he does not use it, and it really bothers me. I feel like Loki should be transforming into other people, using magic spells, but really all he does is just kind of make his knives appear and shoot green energy blasts and do kung fu, which I mean is fine, but at the same time, I feel like the action that is in the show is just our two main characters doing kung fu, and that gets really boring at times. A lot of the times in these Marvel properties, you'll just find your two main characters doing kung fu against one another, and it gets boring really quickly. And I honestly expected Loki to kind of change it up a little bit with the whole fighting style. I kind of expected Loki to use some spells, not really fight his way out of every situation that he's in, which I'll give this to the show. He doesn't fight his way out of every situation. Most situations in this TV series, Loki tries to talk his way out of them, but most of the time he just ends up fighting his way anyways, which is fine. It's not that big of a deal, but at the same time, Loki's not really a fighter. He's the god of mischief. That's how he gets out of his situations, is he's mischievous. He does things. One thing I will say is in the first episode, he uses his mischievous powers, if you will, to escape the clutches of Owen Wilson while he's being held captive and to run away, which is kind of cool, but I feel like we just should have gotten more of that, and Loki doesn't really do much in the show. Honestly, he just feels like a side character in his own show, which that is one of the biggest problems of this entire show, is the fact that Loki is sidelined because he's just the side character. Here's the thing. Loki, as we know him in Avengers Endgame and Infinity War, is dead. That version of Loki is gone. This is the version of Loki that was trying to take over New York back in the first Avengers movie. What does this mean? Well, this means that this Loki isn't the Loki that we know, and this is a different version of that Loki who is still kind of getting his way to being a good guy. He's not necessarily evil, and in the show he does get a lot of development to make him more of a good guy. But at the same time, I wish that they would have spent more time making this Loki try to betray everybody instead of just being immediately submissive. You'll find a lot that in this series, Loki just kind of rolls over on his back and is like, alright, let's do this. I mean, he tries to double cross Owen Wilson in the TVA like one time in the first episode, but then after that he just kind of learns that, oh well, I guess this is my life now. And Loki's really just dumbed down in this show just to make way for new characters, like the new Loki, Sylvie. So, if you haven't watched Loki already, I'm about to hop into major spoilers for the entire show, so please go watch it and come back to this video. You have been warned. Now we're going to talk about spoilers. So the main first plot of the show is the TVA is trying to find a variant version of Loki, who just so happens to be a girl. Now let me just clarify. I have no problem with the main character of this TV show being a girl. I actually kind of like it. I honestly don't think that Sylvie is the problem in this situation. I honestly think that it's how Loki and both of them are written. Loki in the other movies that he's in is written to be a cunning, smart, individual. He's not dumb. He's clever. He knows how to do things. He knows how to fight his way out of a situation without actually fighting his way out of a situation. And that's what you love about Loki. Is he's a clever guy. And that is the thing. Loki isn't supposed to be some dumb moron that's just pushed around because the plot tells him to. But in this show, he's rewritten and completely reimagined just to be a dumb idiot, so then that way the new character, Sylvie, can be brought in. Do I think this is Marvel's desperate attempt to feminize a character so then that way the LGBTQ community doesn't come after them like a raging hurricane? Yes, but that's neither here nor there. The problem is that in the other movies, Loki is supposed to be this mastermind who's behind everything and he's always got a plan up his sleeve. But in this one, after he meets Sylvie, he just kind of turns into a bumbling buffoon. He's just kind of like the butt of every joke. And I don't like that. I like Loki whenever he's a cunning individual, always having the upper hand in every single situation that he's in because he's a smart character. But in this one, he's just kind of dumb and stupid. And he's written that way to reimagine the character to pave the way for Sylvie, like I said before. Honestly, if you ask me, it's a complete waste of a great actor. Tom Hiddleston puts his all into Loki, and I feel bad for him that he was just kind of underused in this show to pave the way for a new character. Now, let's talk about Sylvie. Sylvie is your stereotypical powerful female character. And listen, I hate to say this because I like whenever a female character is written correctly and written in a way that she kind of progresses. A great example of this is the original animated Mulan movie. She's got to earn to be there with everybody else. She's not just powerful because she's a woman. A bad example of this, and a good example of what I'm talking about, is the Mulan live action movie. She's powerful because she's a woman. And Sylvie is kind of in that situation. She's written in a way that's supposed to be more powerful than our main character. She's better at fighting. She's smarter. She has better spells. But at the same time, you still want to root for Loki because that's who the show is about. But it's also just kind of annoying the fact that we get a show about Loki, some people's favorite characters. I mean, heck, he's my favorite character in the MCU. He's freaking cool, dude. He's like an underdog, and you like to root for him. But then we get a show about him, and then we've got Sylvie who just kind of steals the show. And I don't really like that, you know? But with all that being said, I'm going to stop tearing into the show because in all seriousness, at the end of the day, I did kind of like it. The show changes up the Marvel formula, or at least a little bit. The final finale of the show isn't a big CGI live action fight, which I really liked. It's our three characters talking. It's the two main characters talking to the villain, which it turns out to be Kang the Conqueror. That was not a surprise to anybody. I'm sorry if I just spoiled it for you. It's Kang the Conqueror. Everyone could have seen that coming from a mile away. He's like the god of time travel and alternate realities in this freaking comic book universe. But in all seriousness, I did enjoy this show. One thing that I really liked about the show were the performances. I think that Tom Hiddleston, Owen Wilson, and Sophia DiMartino, I hope I pronounced that right, had great chemistry together. All their lines bounced off of each other, and I think that Tom Hiddleston and Sophia have great chemistry on screen. Same thing with Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston. It's kind of like a buddy cop movie for the first couple of episodes, and I really enjoyed that. There's something that I honestly respect about buddy cop movies. That was my biggest praise about Falcon and the Winter Soldier, was the fact that it was just kind of like a fun buddy cop movie, and that's one thing that I praise about those types of movies. I like whenever our two main characters are together and they're doing wacky, fun stuff together. I think that's fun. I'm totally a sucker for that. Now, another thing that I will say about the show is I loved the world building. In this TV series, we go to multiple planets and different places, one being the TVA, which we spent a lot of time in, and I love the fact that the twist in the show is that the TVA people were all taken from where they were. They're not created by the Timekeepers. The Timekeepers turned out to just be a bunch of androids, and Kang the Conqueror was behind the entire thing. Whoa! Now, honestly, I did not see the twist coming with the Timekeepers. I thought that the Timekeepers were going to be real, like, beings that are just kind of like the minions to Kang the Conqueror. I knew the Kang the Conqueror was going to be in the villain of this TV series from the very start. And honestly, the guy who plays Kang the Conqueror, Jonathan, really terrified me with his performance. Honestly, it was really terrifying. Terrified me more than the first time I saw Thanos, or whenever Thanos beat all of our heroes in Avengers Infinity War and in Endgame. And there's something I love about a villain that's really terrifying. The way that he plays Kang the Conqueror is that he knows everything, and that's really scary. And I really like that. Honestly, I feel like with a couple of tweaks, some scene rewrites, and a sharper cast of writers and directors, this TV series could have really been something, and it really could have done something for me. Honestly, this show has 6 episodes, which I think is a good amount of episodes, but I feel like with a really great writing crew and a solid director, this TV show could have been wrapped up in 4 episodes. Boom, bam, bop, everything is over with. Because we spend a lot of time, mainly the first 2 episodes of this TV series, with Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston just talking to each other. And that's one thing that I didn't really like. They just kind of have meaningless conversations that just kind of happen, blah, 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 and it's really boring. Honestly, when I was watching those conversations unfold on my TV, I was honestly getting Attack of the Clone vibes. People just walking and talking, sitting and talking, walking and talking. And honestly, the landscapes of it gave me Attack of the Clone vibes too. I don't really know what it was. It was just kind of boring, for the most part. But at the end of the day, this TV show wasn't terrible. It was honestly pretty good. And I might watch it again in the near future. Maybe skip the first 2 episodes. But at the same time, this TV show didn't really stand out to me. And, it just isn't anything too special. One thing that I will say is that I'm really excited to see where the MCU goes from here because of the ending of this TV series. It ends off with Loki and Sylvie unlocking the multiverse and killing that version of Kang the Conqueror who is known as Immortus. So I'm honestly just excited to see where this TV series takes the MCU from here on out. I'm excited for the new Spider-Man movie and the new Doctor Strange movie where they explore the multiverse more. So with that being said, thank you all for watching. I'm going to give Loki a 6 out of 10. It was alright, not great, not perfect, and a little bit boring at times. Thanks all for watching. If you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe. Alright, so bye.